fantastic. She does it all, as does this Eagles team. So we got a good matchup of ASUN volleyball right here in the arena.
And we're just about set for first serve, but first let's take a look at the FGCU starting lineups presented by NCH. And so we will see a familiar lineup for the Eagles. You'll have Kohler and Grabishich Chabo at the outside spots, Abby Tennisketter in the middle, Reese Burry will start as the libero, and Hannah Borer will start things at the service line in this 6-2 offense. And here we go, we are underway at Alico Arena. Out of system ball on the first touch. Free balled over. Big swing from Kohler to start things out for the Eagles.
Already seeing a good performance from the back line of FGCU, putting some pressure in the serving realm and passing realm for Stetson. That's going to be one key they really need to do, is stay in system to play competitively.
Stetson right to the middle and to the true freshman as Xinglei Young puts that home.
Yeah, that's a great job. You see her really growing a lot in this first year offense as she continues to learn. You see her even going back to serve there mistakenly, but really good job getting the middle involved early for this team.
Big swing down the line, but off the mark for FGCU.
FGCU going for a nice high hand shot early, but just misses it in this game of inches.
True freshman Lily Parker back to serve for the Hatters. Tough first ball. Stetson off the block. Jenna Simmons, the sophomore outside.
Simmons does such a great job there. Went with a little slower approach, but just found the corner edges of the hands of the block, tooling that left to the outside.
Back over to Kohler, she tips. Great pancake. Tip down the line, but attack error by Simmons will give the point and the side out back to the Eagles.
And that's something we talked to Coach Dunn beforehand too, saying that they really want to try to eliminate those unforced errors. Little plays like that, that maybe if you just push that ball on the court, you give yourself a chance to play.
Kohler serving now for FGCU. Right to the middle, Young. Eagles reset, off the block, it's Grabishich Chabo.
Chabo, such a talented arm for the Eagles. You see her just cake that little cut shot there, reaching the outside hand of the block and forcing it to play on that outside hitter.
Tied up at 3. Kohler serving. Back to Young on the quick.
I really like seeing the middles getting involved so early. That's going to establish a presence for the middle blocker hitters first, and then really spread your distribution for your pins.
Spoken like a true former middle.
I dabbled in my time.
Out of system for FGCU. Back row attack, but an error from Kohler will give it back to the Stetson Hatters. Xinglei Young out of Beijing, China, serving for the Hatters. True freshman. She's seeing a lot of playing time. And it's an ace for the true freshman. Nice start for the Hatters from the service line.
Yeah, it's rare that you see a middle make such a big difference from the back line, but she's done just that so far for Stetson.
Waiting a substitution by the Eagles as Chandler Swanson will come into the back row for Ayana Battle. Going right at Swanson. Off the block and stuffed at the net is Grabishich Chabo.
You got the whole sideline on the floor for that one. Big celebrations with a big block early on from Stetson.
Yeah, Lily Parker doing the worm over there on the sideline. Young continuing from the service line. To the middle, tennis cutter, off hands.
Great job finding yourself one-on-one there. Just finds the option going towards the setter, that zone 1 position off of the hands.
Tennis cutter from Boynton Beach, Florida, transferred in this season. One of 3 middles that'll be used heavily for the Eagles. Over to Simmons off the hands. And put down, but still alive from Balfour. Back to Balfour, she's denied. Free balled over. Cross court swing from Grabicic Chabo. Simmons tries to tip, but into the net.
Yeah, just a little scramble play there. Actually pretty impressed with their defense so far. That's a big up as well from Sajil, but not enough to get that tip over the play.
Tennis cutter from the service line. Dumped over, and a sneaky move by the senior 5th-year setter in Naya Molina.
You know, that's that aggressive little play. You say aggressive, it's just a tip, but aggressive play to also know the opposite end. You got a middle in the back row, you're going to go after her defensively.
Three-point lead for FGCU. And Balfour on the block.
Already Stetson moving up with a couple blocks. Definitely a lot of positive touches at the net as well.
Cross-court swing, Ava Smith.
The big heavy arm of the opposite there, followed of course by, preceding the big set from their setter as she transitions out to the sideline. But man, love seeing how well Hannah Boer leads their offense, leaves a lot of her hitters one-on-one, finding seams. You know you have the big responsibility as a pen to put the ball down when it's in that situation, and they did just that.
Simmons rolls over. Big swing from Soto. Grabicic Chabo off hands. Back to Simmons off the top of the tape. But it's going to bounce in. That'll side out for Stetson.
A little lucky roll off the top of the tape there, but nonetheless a good idea. Finding that outside, playing a little back defensively, and finding that cut shot to be successful.
Simmons now serving for the Hatters. To the middle, a little bit of a misconnection there with Battle in the middle. And a service error turns it right back over to FGCU. Grabicic Chabo to the back row now for the Eagles. 4 double-doubles on the season. Off serve off the top of the tape.
We've seen the tape come into play a little already.
Yeah. The low flat serve.
Yeah, that's what you want. When you do a float serve, you want it to be flat and clean. Flat being low to the tape, clean with no spin.
Back over to Parker. Kohler, Tulin. Parker down the line. Kohler. Off for 1 foot was Balfour. Soto tips, straight up. Free balled over. Soto down the line. Back row attack from Simmons. And for the first time today from the back row, Jenna Simmons.
And you can't talk about that play without talking about Naya Molina, the setter, the quarterback of this team running the offense. Good distribution there. You had a back row attack, a front row outside, a middle behind the back, and even a couple of defensive plays by her.
Great diversity on this offense. from the middle. Eagles reset, back to battle. Confusion at the net, and got a little bit of a miscommunication as Nia Molina, the senior, giving a look to her freshman young, you got to get out of my way.
She will tell it to you straight, as a setter should. But great job by Battle there. You saw her struggle maybe a little offensively, but coming in on the defensive end and putting that ball down.
Reese Burry serving for the Eagles. Out of system ball. Tipped over by Parker. Soto cuts that. Parker just keeping it up. Back to Tennis Kidder, and she finds the back corner.
Yeah, great play there by FGCU. Found herself one-on-one again. Just about no block, actually, in that situation. And again, great job. Credit to FGCU, their setter, their offense. They're really good at point scoring, and it comes from plays like that.
Served by Reese Burry, long. Cut it back to a 3-point margin. And it'll be the setter now for Stetson. Nia Molina back to serve. Tennis Getter denied. And a double block teaming up in Parker and Young.
You saw Parker there wink to her head coach on the sideline. We just talked about it the play before. She didn't go up with two hands on the block in the middle. She makes that correction there and immediately gets a stop.
They're a true freshman, getting it done.
The coachability goes a long way.
Back to Kohler, I should say. And he manages to sneak that inside the end line.
Yeah, that's the expertise from the veteran there, too, just finding the inches of fingertips. The ball originally looked like it was called out, but she knows how to find the edges of hands, and that's what's needed when you're a veteran. You're not going to be able to put the ball down 10-foot line every single hit that you can, but she finds a way no matter what.
Borer back into serve and set, and it's an ace from Hannah Borer. Second of the day for FGCU. Tough serve. Rolled over. And with some thunder, Barbara Kohler.
Yeah, there's the heavy arm of Kohler forcing a timeout to Stetson.
That'll take us to our media timeout. 14-11, Stetson grabbing the lead as we continue. Welcome back to Alico Arena, where just before the start of this match, the ASUN Championship from 2024 was presented to this Eagle squad. A look at the NCAA tournament appearances. This Eagle squad has been on a roll.
Yeah, this program has been dominant for years on years now. I mean, the entire helm has been only 20 years in the making. 5 ASUN tournament titles, 8 ASUN regular season titles. This is a dominant program, and it's looking to stay that way under the new head coach, Thais Baziqueto Allen.
Eagles picked second in the preseason ASUN poll. Over to Parker. She rolls cross court. Free balled over. Stetson trying to take advantage. To the middle, Young. And the true freshman, Shinlei Young, getting it done right now with 3 kills.
Yeah, already seeing her hit over 300 on the day, finding a lot of success in her, which again, you know this team so much, Stetson, to be a pin-heavy team. Now mixing in your middles, it's going to make it a lot tougher on FGCU.
Stetson gives it right back. Lily Parker on the service error. Kohler will rotate to the back row to serve. Anna Marzella coming out of this match. Some confusion by Stetson. Free balls it over. Smith denied as Young teaming up with Simmons on the roof.
That's a good heads-up play by the outside hitter there. you got to be locked and loaded ready for that. It's an easy free ball to the opposing team. It's going to be an in-system play. She had perfect form, good crossover, hands across the net, low and over, and absolutely stuffed that ball.
Young back to serve. Over to Grubishic's Chavo, and it's a block party right now for Stetson.
You know she's got to be happy right there. Coach Young Den, former NAIA National Player of the Year in her time. 9th season now with Stetson. Came from a very talented Missouri program as well. Lots of national team work with China and beyond. She's pretty happy about seeing her team grow this year, even as a young team here on the court.
She's been doing a lot of teaching, her and her staff at practice, but it's clearly paying off so far. The start here of this first set, Stetson building a 4-point advantage and really worked on the block timing this week at practice with this fast up-tempo FGC offense, and we're going to have a challenge.
Yeah, and of course you talk about teaching the touch on the block. Point will go to FGCU, of course. But if nothing else, both teams, they got a free time out there, in a sense, get to kind of re-talk their ending set one ideas, positions, maybe even shot selection as they kind of start learning each other a little bit more. Now 15-17 as that score corrects here.
So from a 4-point advantage for the Hatters now to just 2, thanks to that challenge won by FGCU, that call reversal. Tennis getter back to serve for the Eagles. To the middle, and Balfour.
Naya Molina with the hops to center and the immediate put down by Balfour. Another look at this one. Perfect pass, perfect set. You find yourself one-on-one tight to the net and finds the seam going across.
And it's an ace for Stetson. Back-to-back points for the Hatters as Karsu by Rocktash with the ace.
That challenge certainly didn't shift any of the Hatters' momentum as they now continue to climb in this first set.
Right down the line. Over to Smith off the hands, and a side out for FGCU.
See Barbara Kohler fist pumping in the air, telling her teammates, hey, let's go, let's go. Trying to find any momentum they can get to climb back and lower this little margin of gap they have here.
Into set and serve now for the Eagles, Ilishka Vikiskova. Tight to the net. And it'll be a point Eagles.
Just a little too aggressive from the setter of Stetson. Good heads-up play, though. FGCU was ready with a couple of hands looking to defend that play as well.
Kiskova, another serve. Simmons, cross court. Back row attack, Kohler rolls it over.
Her sports IQ in the game of volleyball is so high. You love that she's always an option no matter where she is on the court, front row or back row. You see her go up here in a transition play. A little out of system, maybe a little off tempo, off speed, and just finds that roll shot into the donut.
Service error from Vikiskova as the Eagles had climbed back to within a point. So Stetson the first to 20 in this first set. Simmons back to serve, the sophomore out of Port St. Lucie, Florida. Miscommunication in the back row, and the error going to lead to a point for the Hatters. And that's going to lead to a timeout from Thais Vazqueto-Allen. The Hatters with a 3-point advantage here, trying to close out FGCU on their home floor. And that will not help the cause on the service error.
Yeah, we've seen a couple, too many maybe service errors in this first set. Ideally, you give yourself about 2 errors, so they're right about that, but any more would be over kind of your standard of play.
Tight to the net, dumped over. Nice heads-up job there by Naya Molina, the setter.
Yeah, she's a little undersized for a setter at the front row, but she is so aggressive. Knows how to handle that ball, even if it's slightly an overpass, extremely well.
Back to serve now for Stetson. Stedgley. Tipping, Kohler, and count it.
Kohler, we talk about this big, heavy arm swing of her, but you see her last 2 kills coming from an off-speed roll shot and a tip over the block. Again, she knows what to do and when to do it, knowing how to point score for her team.
Reese Burry from the service line. And it's an ace for Burry. Now the 4th ace, or 3rd I should say, of this first set. It looks like Lily Parker a little bit shaken up, trying to chase that ball down. Maybe came down on her back at a weird angle.
Yeah, just a great effort. You love to see her getting up and high-fiving and getting back onto the court with her teammates. Every point matters. You see the motivation to run after it there.
Lead down to 1 for Stetson. And we're going to have a timeout here from Young Dang and Stetson. Burry looks to continue this service run for FGCU. Young off of 1 foot. First time today we have seen her on the slide.
Yeah, it's a new look for the freshman here today. Seeing her run behind, giving them yet another option of distribution run by Molina as she now goes back to serve.
Stetson now 2 points away. Molina into the back row. Kohler, big swing cross court. Young. Denied at the net. Still alive though by the Eagles. Parker rolls it over. To the middle, tennis getter. Straight up. Kohler off of hands. What a rally.
And a great defensive, gritty rally from both teams ends with a heavy arm of Barbara Kohler on the outside. We talked about her tips and roll shots, but that one had full force behind it.
Back to a 1-point set here. Hannah Borer back into serve. Going right at the true freshman. Back to Young, and Stetson plays that perfectly.
Yeah, we're able to have a great look at this as we are just right next to the net. You see Molina just put that ball perfectly in front of the arm of Young. She's able to have it in front of her hitting arm and swinging full force into that block and hands.
Set point for Stetson. J.C. Davis out of Brooker, Florida, into serve. Smith off the hands, and the block party finishes it off for the Hatters. 6 blocks in that first set for Stetson. FGCU will need to have a much cleaner first ball contact. Kohler cross court. To Muhizi from the middle. That's the first time today we've called the true freshman's name.
Erica Muhizi, she's been so good for this Eagle program all year round, both offensively and defensively. You see a big swing from the middle there.
Kohler at the service line. And the service error into the net. Coming in for Stetson, J.C. Davis, the defensive specialist. Eight service aces on the year. Back to Muhizi. FGCU wants a touch. We'll see if Coach Bazzicato Allen decides to challenge this. Point was ruled in favor of Stetson. Coach is going to save her challenge. Verbicic Chavo with the tip and catching the block off a guard.
Yeah, finding a little success on their pins, just finding that ball right over the block. A great job reading by actually Molina, but just read it too much, slid too far under the block, didn't quite get a hand on it. But good job nonetheless. Again, we talked about the power of point scoring. No matter what it takes, if it's a tip, if it's a big swing, if it's a serve, an ace, anything works.
Ukisi from the service line. Tipped over. Grabish's Chavo off the block. Tight set. Smith. Back to Young, and ready and waiting is Smith and Tennis Getter.
Tennis Getter, a transfer from SFW, one that followed her head coach, of course, to be on this team, along with many other players. She's former alternative team. She's led in blocks per set and so much more, so not a shocker at all to see her make a big performance in the front row early on.
Ukisi cross-court serve, tipped over, stopped by the block. Simmons off of hands. Knotted up at 3, it'll be Young back to serve for Stetson. True freshman out of Beijing, China. Board Smith off the block.
Yeah, great job there. Typically, as a hitter, you don't want to hit into the middle blocker's hands because they're typically the best blocker on the team. But good eye work there, seeing that just a little bit late from Stetson, and finds her on the edge, pointing outside to the sideline.
Kiskova into serve for FGCU. Cross-court swing. Going to be a net violation, though. That'll be a point for Stetson.
Got a heavy arm behind that swing.
Arsu Bayraktash getting a lot more playing time today. Service error, though, gives it right back to FGCU. Rubish's Chavo serving for the Eagles. Simmons tips. Simmons cross court, great up. Kohler big swing. Simmons off the block and denied at the net by Soto and Tennis Getter.
Soto with a big celebration and a big block there. She's not the tallest of players, but makes up for it with her hops and great form here. You can take a better look at it here, just perfectly across the net, facing into the block.
Simmons big swing cross court. Back row attack, Ruiz shoots Chavo. Simmons tips. Kohler cross court. Soto off the hands. And FGCU building a 3-point advantage.
Yeah, we talked earlier after that first set how they just seem to seemingly get in system a little bit more. And I don't know if they technically are right now. They're still relying on a little bit of second setter libero sets, but they look like a lot more in rhythm nonetheless.
Right to the seam of the back row. Soto off the fingertips, back-to-back points.
You see her passing and hitting in transition there. She makes a little bit of a funny face looking at her setter. You joke that sometimes as a pin, you might pass badly and get set. So it's almost a little bit of a strategy if you want the ball in your hands,
3-0 run for FGCU, but service error will give it right back to Stetson. Jenna Simmons serving for Stetson. Second on this team in service aces. And it's a service error. Fourth of this match for Stetson.
Yeah, you've seen a couple of those missed serves maybe on key moments of trying to build momentum. Certainly stops the pause and play and helps your other team get back into the mix.
3 on the serve. Pushed over by Simmons. Eagles reset. Kohler off the fingertips, kept up. to Muhizi. Parker stopped. Simmons, back row attack. And we're going to have a net violation on Muhizi.
Just a little errors of discipline helping Stetson get back into the mix here. But man, as she goes back to serve, I've been really impressed with Victoria Sedgley. Just so good playing lights out defense. Really covering just about every inch of the floor in the back row.
Soto down the line. The freshman down the line. Point scoring yet again, and it's been a big match so far for Karsu Bayraktaş.
Yeah,
her first time we've seen her this season.
I was going to say, we haven't seen her play this season yet, and she comes out as a freshman, an international incomer on this team, already making a name for herself here early in this match.
Cross-court serve. Rubishi Chaba pushing that over. Kohler. And a miss hit by true freshman Lily Parker. That set was pretty low.
Yeah, you see FGCU continue their lead now to 3. Maybe you could see even a little breath there as Stetson was in system on that entire play led by Molina.
2-point advantage for FGCU, who's back home and the first time in a month. Parker rolls it over. Kohler to the middle, stuffed. Nice up, keeping it alive, the freshman. But Kohler with the point.
And no approach, just a standing jump as a play. Putting that ball right in the middle of the court, that's great vision. She didn't have an approach to hit that ball, but nonetheless found the gap in that zone 6 area. We'll take another look at this, just, no approach, splitting those defenders though, and doing a really good job of their vision work.
Kohler now 6 kills. Tips, nice tip. Perfectly placed.
Yeah, she's just so smart. You see her little sticking her tongue out there as we go into a timeout, but Barbara Kohler, 8 kills, 1 dig. FGCU up now 12-7 in set number 2.
Welcome back to Alico Arena, where FGCU has opened up a 5-point lead here in set number 2. Stetson taking set number 1, and Eagles looking to even things up. Currently on a 3-0 scoring run.
FGCU continue to get into a rhythm here. A big difference between set 1 and set 2, their hitting percentage. I know it's still early on, maybe more errors to be made, but they're already hitting 300 compared to their 26 in the first set. Big difference for them.
Anna Boer serving for FGCU, trying to continue this 3-0 scoring run. Back row attack from the true freshman Bayraktaş, and she gets the important side out.
Yeah, we're really getting a lot of different looks from her in all positions of the court. Back row, front row, defensively from the block. And a rare mistake by Muhizi there, who's been a great defensive player in all of ASUN so far this season.
Muhizi tipping with the left hand. Bayraktaş, great up. Down the line, Smith. Young with some force.
Really impressed with Young from the middle on Stetson. You see her running a couple different gaps there, falling to center and some. Push forward a little. A bump set at that. The creativity of Molina. You got to give her credit there.
With 6 kills now. Kohler off the hands. And Barbara Kohler leading the way for the Eagles with 9 kills.
Yeah, not just leading the way for the Eagles, the entire court right now.
Kohler hitting 368 in this match, and Stetson has not had an answer for her. Serving right at Simmons. Kept up live. A heads-up job by true freshman Erica Muhizi.
Muhizi doing what she does best right there. She has been so talented. A couple of awards so
Hatter serving. Off the hands. Dunked over. Back to Grabici's Chavo cross court. And a lift's going to be called, or double contact rather.
Of course, we've seen the changes in the double contact call over the years, how it is now able to be done during the play, but when you send the ball over,
yes,
that's where
got to keep it on your side of the net.
Yes, yes.
So a 6-point lead for Stetson as they call a timeout. Actually, they
play into this contest so
all
far.
Reversal so far.
Coaches know what they're doing, I guess.
They sure do. Serving now for Stetson, J.C. Davis. Hatter's back within 4. Great save there by Grabici's Chavo. But it doesn't matter because Xinglei Yang with another point.
Yeah, another big swing. You see her hitting both ways now. She's going and attacking setters in the back row. She's cutting it forward, attacking seams and liberos. Down the line on a slide even. Really getting to show her toolbox of play that she has. As a freshman, maybe remind you, for this team.
Out of system ball, Grabici's Chavo, and right into and off of the block.
Yeah, it's a big celebration too with Anna Marzella, her libero, set her with that bump set, told her where to swing, and she did just that. Mid-air, great vision. Another look at this one. Out of system, Marzella had a very dominant aggression to make sure that ball went to her outside hitter, and a big hug after for putting that ball down.
Chandler Swanson subbing in for Marzella, and tennis ketter for Erica Mulizi. FGCU 4-point lead. Cross court, or off hands I should say. Ava Smith down the line. Rolled over by Simmons. Swanson frees it over. To the middle, Young. We're still playing. Great up by Swanson. Tipped over by Grabici's Chavo. Simmons rolling. And a denial at the net as Young teaming up with her fellow freshman Karsu Bayraktash.
What a good volleyball rally on both sides of the net. Another look at this. You see the ending of it. Stress at the net, but taken so well by number 13. We've called her name already. That is Young in the middle, who now goes back to serve for her Hatters.
Stetson back within 3. Young serving. Tight to the net. Grabici's Chavo rolls. Rolled back. Cross court swing. Smith stopped. And misplayed by the Eagles will lead to another point for Stetson, who's back within 2.
The Hatters just having...
Already has a 1-0 lead against the Eagles on their home floor. To the middle, tennis getter. Hatters reset. Simmons into the block. Back to Simmons, rolling. Grabici's Chavo cross court. Simmons over the block. Marzella great up. To the middle, Balfour. And an attack error leads to the point for FGCU.
And it's plays like that, just converting, staying in the game. You saw them get a great block touch on that initial play. Another block touch after that. They get a dig, sending it over to the net here. They just stay in their system, go up in their defense, and they make the other team make the error.
Bikiskova serving for FGCU out of the Czech Republic. Hard swing, cross court. Grabici's Chavo through the block. Simmons. Soto down the line. Dumped over by Molina. And another sneaky move by the 5th-year senior.
The minute you think you can start predicting their offense, she throws in something else. A deep tip from just about the 10-foot line, to be honest. But again, she's always so creative. she's just a competitor at the end of the day. You look at her, how she plays, even her facial expressions, she just wants to win and do so in dramatic fashion.
Great serve. And it's an ace for true freshman Karsu Bayraktash, who has made an immediate impact in her first action of the season.
Yeah, way to make an entrance to the freshman, showing off, we said, many tools in her toolbox.
Soto over the block. And that's a winner for FGCU. Grabicic Chabo serving. Simmons punches it through the block.
Yeah, big swing by the sophomore outside Simmons there. Like you said, right through the block. That's exactly what it was there. Another look at this swing. She is swinging powerfully into it. Finds maybe a little bit of the seam, but more than anything, space in between the hands and the net. It doesn't matter how high you can jump if you're a blocker. It's all about getting low and over the net.
For the first time today, Amber Engelhardt into serve. Kohler cross court. Run down. Tennis Ketter off hands. Foul 4. Back row attack. Tipped over. Foul 4, misplays that. Eagles push the lead back to 2. Reese Purdy serving for FGCU.
We talked a little bit about the offensive side of Molina. You see it there from FGCU as well, from Vikastova.
Another dump attempt by Molina. Rolling it, Barbara Kohler with her 10th kill of this match.
You got to imagine about half of those, I think, have been off speed. We've talked about her sports IQ so far, and especially in plays like that, you already have a stressful moment of a setter dump. You're on your toes. You're ready for a big hit. You got to get back to defense. And all of a sudden, there's yet another short play that forces you to move outside of maybe what you're regularly used to.
Purdy changes sides of the end line. Off of 1 foot, Balfour punching it through the block.
Yeah, beautiful job. FGCU had, 10 fingers in both of her ranges to go and cross her line and just powerfully hits through that block on the slide.
Stedgley serving for Stetson. Down the middle and read perfectly by Young and Parker.
That's a big time block right there. I mean, the big powerful arm swing of Kohler. You see this, she goes up full score. You could pretty much pause this and it's picture perfect of a play for FGCU, but had no chance getting past the hands of the Hatters.
Stedgley. Over to Soto. And it's a block party right now for the Hatters.
It most definitely is their 10th block of the evening. And you talk to their coach beforehand, and she talks about how you can teach volleyball, but you can't teach experience. Well, they are looking like a veteran blocking team at this point.
And the Hatters have made the adjustment. One of the concerns from Coach Dang was the speed of this FGCU offense, but Stetson not showing that right now defensively. Tip by Kohler. Parker rolls. And the attack error going to lead to an FGCU side out. He goes first to 20. It's been a back and forth first 2 sets. Stetson with a 1-0 lead on FGCU, the defending ASUN Conference champs. Anna Bora back to serve. Mishandled, and that's going to lead to an ace for Borer. Number 4 on the day for FGCU.
With that maturity, they're now able to play with someone that maybe did train like them. And now you look at them on the court, and it's a well-fueled machine.
2-point advantage here for FGCU, who's looking to even this matchup at 1 set apiece. Borer back to serve. From the back row, and a little bit short there. Wasn't going to clear probably the net anyway for Karsu by Raktosh.
Yeah, that's where you need to have that maybe experience or maturity that we were just talking about in these late moments in the play to make sure that you can stay composed and keep the ball in play. So now we're going to take another challenge because we haven't had enough. So we're going to see about maybe a potential net touch by Muhizi, I think, on that block. We talked about the ball being short. Maybe she reached a little far. We'll see what looks we can get here. So nonetheless, of course, you get a free timeout in a sense with this challenge. Get to talk over, you see Basaketo Allen maybe talking of some different positions, maybe shots to hit, talking to Kohler a little bit there.
So challenging that there's a net violation. So we'll be looking at if any part of this net is moving based on player contact. What do you see?
You know, it's really close. I think you could make the call that Muhizi did, in fact, touch it. Just the palm of her hand there. I will say it's not as dramatic as I actually thought I saw it live.
This would be huge, though. This 22-19, 3-point difference right now.
And, of course, originally called in favor of FGCU. So now flip and go to 21-20.
Mackerel on this 5-1 offense. Going right at Kohler. Smith cross court. Parker into the block. And the double block coming up big for FGCU.
There's a definitive block there. No net anywhere in sight.
22-20. FGCU trying to close out Stetson here in set number 2.
Another look at this one again. Just great footwork. You see her waiting patiently and goes low and over to get that stuff.
Off of the slide, Young. Muhizi on the quick.
Muhizi has been a big name for this team so far all season long. You see her getting into the mix a little later here. That block just in. Now offensively, you know, I knew going into this match it would be key to get her involved. You have big arms on the pins that you can easily rely on, but you need her in the mix to help everyone out on this team.
Kohler serving. Out of system ball. Tap back over by the block. Muhizi teaming up with Ava Smith.
And just like that, a string of points. FGCU just one away from tying up this match with a second set win.
3-0 scoring run for the Eagles, who now have 4 blocks in this second set. And it's an ace! 25-20, FGCU taking set number 2 thanks to the strong
being put up for success. Stedgley, the libero for the Hatters, has been lights out, putting them into a good system to be able to set a lot of different players, just like this one here with a big starting hit and kill by none other than Shinley Young.
Hatters activating their true freshman middle right away to start set number 3.
Yeah, that just makes it so much harder on the opposing defense as well, knowing that you can't cheat to a pin. You can't, you know, you have to be patient. You have to wait where the set's going, truly practice your eye work, and see from there.
Big swing from Kohler. Rolled over. To the middle and Young. Back-to-back kills for Young.
You hear Cooper Chemnitz on the sideline of the Hatters yelling, trouble, trouble, trouble. It's plays like that, forcing them to be out of system and converting.
Going to the middle, Erica Muhizi answering from the middle.
Maybe a little bit of, hey, anything you can do, I can do better competition. competition of the middle blockers.
True freshmen going head to head.
And that's a great thing to see if you're a fan of either of these programs. You are in good hands your next several years.
A lot of the development going to be happening with those two players, but a lot of raw talent already being seen. Grabicic Chabo off hands.
Chabo just such a smart hitter, just like Kohler as well. Both of those outside hitters, they know they're going to mix in, some heavy, hard hand shots, but a lot of them will be off speed. They'll be against the block and just finding ways to put the ball down.
Kohler serving. And they're going to say that got down on the ace, just clipping the line. Sixth service ace of this match for FGCU.
Another look at this one, just finds not only that deep corner shot, but the seam between the libero and DS there.
Right back to Young, who already has 3 kills in this third set.
Yeah, if you're FGCU, you're looking for a way to stop that because she has been just about invincible the minute that ball goes into her hands. Good job by Molina, of course, running those plays so often, finding her middle, not being afraid to go away with it.
Young now in the back row. And Grabicic Chabo down the line, but attack error.
This is where you got to look for composure and discipline early on in a match, knowing that, hey, we can't get stressed and start making errors.
Young going right at Grabicic Chabo. Right back to her. And trying to find fingertips, and she does.
Yeah, great correction there. You see a big hug from the two pens. Struggling to find ways to put the ball down in some ways, and it's plays like that. You miss a little wide going left, you find a fingertip going deep.
What does FGCU need to do to get Grabicic Chabo in a better rhythm?
I think it starts with your defense and passing. A pin is responsible for cleaning up all the mess. You're going to get a lot of bump sets. You're going to get a lot of out-of-system balls, high balls from the deep corner. So I think it starts immediately with how you're serving and how you're blocking. That way you can get balls in a little better system, force a little better rhythm. She can actually be set by one of her setters rather than just a bump set platform. And it's plays like that that'll build her confidence being in rhythm. So those out-of-system balls, she feels a little more comfortable hitting.
By Raktosh, service error. Knotted at 5. It's been a back and forth match so far. Lots of lead changes. Yakiskava back to serve for FGCU. On the slide, Balfour, dug out. Back row attack, missed hit by Kohler.
Yeah, tough ball coming from her right there. Just again, out of rhythm. You asked the question of their pins and maybe how they can have better opportunities. It's plays like that. It's tough. It's your responsibility at the end of the day as an outside hitter, playing 6 rotation at that, but it doesn't make it any easier.
The offense has really struggled today for FGCU, hitting just 118 to the middle, tennis cutter, and a side out for her.
And that's a way to boost your confidence as an offensive system, getting your middles involved on a perfect pass and putting a ball down like this with no doubt. See a great job by her. She goes up with 2 blockers in her face, finds that vision, and hits the opposite side to go down to the court.
Stetson back to Balfour, stuffed to the net, freed over. Tennis cutter denied.
Sometimes it's not always about what one team can do better, but what one team is doing really well. That's a great play by Stetson. You see Kayla Balfour going up with this. She's one-on-one. Tennis cutter has every opportunity to hit around her, and she's just all over that ball.
Sedgley serving. Nice job by FGCU keeping this up. Cross-court swing from Kohler. Parker into the block.
Soto getting a little fired up with that one. Big block from the opposite hitter.
Burry in this match to serve. And it's a service error. 5th of this match for FGCU. Naya Molina serving for Stetson. Soto cross court.
Yeah, that's one benefit of being in system is you can hit that opposite side right there. And strong heavy arm. She jumps up so high, gets a lot of air, finds herself the opportunity to hit seams like that, both in the block and in the backcourt, and putting balls down in dominant fashion.
Soto moving to the right side ahead of this season. Cross-court swing with the answer, Karsu Bayraktaş.
Bayraktaş, we talked about her being just a freshman on this team, but let me tell you, that's a senior level swing. A little bit of off speed, finds the absolute deep corner of the court. That's going to be a kill no matter who you're playing.
5 kills for Bayraktaş. Muhizi from the middle.
Now it really seems like whichever team can get in system and set the middle is going to be the team that's going to win. And the opposite end of that is you got to figure out who can stop the middle.
Right? Kohler serving for FGCU. Bayraktaş just frees it over. Grabish's Chavo cross court. Simmons off the block. Dumped over by Molina. And pushed over by Ava Smith. Had to come inside to get that.
Ava Smith working her way into this rotation throughout the season. You've seen her come off the bench a little bit earlier on. Now really kind of finding herself as a mainstay in the lineup. Plays like this, again, just getting the ball in play over, but also adding a little aggression into it.
Young. Hunted down by the Eagles. Grabish's Chavo looking for hands, but did not find them.
You see a little bit of growth on the defensive end of there. Burry getting a really good up. We just talked about, hey, who can stop the middle? So you find a hand, you get a touch, but you just now have to convert on both ends of the court.
Smith off the top of the block. Bakhardash.
Great job there, finding that inside cut shot, going against the block of Muhizi, but Muhizi just a little off of the net, finding space in between to create a conversion standpoint for the Hatters.
Young serving for Stetson. Leading the Hatters with 10 kills. Smith cross court. Bayraktaş finding the donut in the floor on the roll shot.
I'm telling you, she's looking a little bit like a veteran out there. Showing some different shots she has now from the opposite side, that right side of the net.
Bayraktaş has not played until today, as Zuzana Bure has carried the bulk of the load offensively. Young with an ace.
Yeah, you get to see a lot of look of the young guns out here getting their fair share of playing time and doing well. Really well, starting to show a lot of comfortability.
3-point advantage for Stetson. And a miss hit by Muhizi as the Hatters extend their lead. That's going to prompt a timeout.
Hey, they are feeling good away from home today. We talked about in the break just off air how it's almost as if they didn't know what they had with some of these creative lineups, seeing freshmen come in and getting to really see a great performance by a lot of different looks tonight.
A lot of true freshmen seeing playing time. Muhizi with an important side out as Karsu Bayraktaş has played for the first time this season for Stetson as the Hatters star player Susanna Bourret is out today. And Bourret, a huge part of this offense, averaging close to 4 kills per set. Ugizi back to serve. And right into the net, gives it right back to Stetson. Eagles have just not been able to find a rhythm consistently here offensively.
No, I think we really just saw it, in the later half of that last set where they, of course, took away the set, but they haven't really been in system, let alone in rhythm, as you mentioned, this entire match.
Off the block, and it's the freshman Katie Gillis with her first swing today.
Lots of high fives from there as well, maybe a couple hugs from the young gun too. Coming in from Ohio, another look at this big swing. Great patience as she sees she's out of rhythm, finds the outside hand of Balfour. A good blocker she's going against at that, but finds success nonetheless.
Molina over to Balfour, misconnection there, and that's going to lead to the point for FGCU, back-to-back points, back within 2.
Great job by Tennis Cutter there. That's a play that, as a middle, you could almost call to, hey, let's be down for this. We don't have to jump on this. It's a down ball. But nonetheless, finds her hands in the right spot and converts a point for her team.
Akiskova serving for the Eagles. Dumped over. The third time today we have seen that from Nia Molina.
Truly just an athlete, so aggressive in all she does. She leads this team so well. And says, hey, let me get a little mix of offense in there for myself. Big kill by the setter.
Molina now with 4 kills in this match. And a long serve from JC Davis. Amber Engelhart on that missed serve. Jenna Simmons back in for Stetson. As is Rabisic Chavo. Balfour on the slide, kept alive, 3-balled over. Balfour wasn't pretty, but it was effective.
That's right, and you look at, again, with the efficiency of what happens when you can get in system and run a middle, even on a play like that. Set was not quite there. She was definitely off tempo, out of rhythm, but finds a way nonetheless. You're putting pressure immediately on the opposing defense, even if the play is a little out of sorts.
Serving now for Stetson is the libero Sedgley. Has the Eagles on the run. And a missed hit by Kohler, going to lead to another point for Stetson.
Stetson doing a great job keeping them out of system, making them scramble for plays, and then just on their end, kind of waiting for a mistake to be made and not doing it themselves.
Sedgley from Garden City, Kansas. Soto, cross court. Simmons back row attack. Kept up. Molina from the front row.
You cannot say enough good things about Molina. The libero turned setter is all over the place, including the front row.